All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Foundation of Marketing. It's so nice to see all of you here again. And I'd like to say hi to our audience in our live stream session. My name is Nikki, and I'm going to be hosting our today's lecture on the Marketing Foundation. So I also like to say thanks to the American Center and the U.S. Embassy for making these, checking updates, for making these sessions possible for us to have an opportunity to meet and to talk about these kind of issues. This is something that I have been very passionate about, not the marketing itself, but how to apply it in the Vietnamese market. And because I do have a feeling like, first, our market is very interesting. It's very strange. It is non-conformative. It's not something that you can use just a model or a theory to make sense and to kind of decode it and how to change it. So today, in this lecture, I will try to do something different, which is kind of like reforming our understanding of the topic of marketing. So we'll talk about that using the Vietnamese market as kind of our example throughout the session. So this is something that I've been trying to do for many years. I have had a lot of curriculum, a lot of classes on marketing, but there's always two problems. The first problem is there might be a lot of people or students learning, marketing as their major in university and colleges right now. And the problem with those kind of university classes is that it makes the subject marketing looks nothing like itself in real life. The reason is the theories in marketing is something that is very macro level. It is something very abstract. It talks about models. It doesn't talk about Facebook. It doesn't talk about online marketing. It doesn't talk about how to design a website or a logo and things like that. And then there are, maybe some of you here are working as business owners. And you're thinking about, how do I sell my product? I don't care about the 4 Ps and 7 Ps. I don't care about the theories on aggregated market and things like that. I just want to know, how do I get more clients, more customers coming to my company? Or maybe you're suffering with how to draw a logo. And so this kind of disparity between the application, the theory, and the way we're looking at it is something that we want to change in this session. So we'll do both. Sometimes we'll dip inside the theory, and sometimes we'll jump into the reality and try to make sense why they are the same thing, just spoken in different languages, okay? So tell me, why are you here? Some people, please. I'd like to know my audience. Remember that I'll be talking a lot, but it doesn't really make sense because I already know this kind of stuff. I don't enjoy talking so much and listening to my own talking. I've done this thousands of times. But I'd like to have an opportunity to talk and react with the people, because the most important thing that we have after this is that you come back home and get out of here with something. It could be a new skill, it could be something interesting, it could be something completely worthless. But you need to take away something that helps you in your business or in your daily life, or at least it has to satisfy your curiosity. So the true learning is about letting our curiosity be satisfied, learning about something new and how to use it. And it doesn't come with a one-way conversation. The reason why we have these live streaming sessions is also because we want to connect on a bigger, larger scale with much more people interested in this topic. So people in the back, we are here. I think I'm going to be holding my phone, not to be impolite, but just to see if there is somebody asking any questions. Stream session, and we'll talk about where is this card? Okay, American Center, where are you? U.S. Embassy. All right, if you have any questions, please shout out on the internet. Oh, I look kind of fat today. Sorry about that. So, thank you guys. Thank you. Hello. Hi, Quinn. Hi, Chang. You just joined. Okay, so let's talk about marketing. Why are you here, and what do you think marketing is? Those are my two questions. So, anyone? Come on. Yes, thank you. Hi, can you introduce yourself? Yes, thank you. All right, thank you so much. What this man is saying is very interesting, and which is something we will discuss later on, that marketing needs update and constant update, because it's not a subject that it stays the same forever. The market and the study of marketing is so difficult because of that. I was a math major. To be honest, math gets updated, but it doesn't change very much. But the markets, on the other hand, changes every day. Look at all of you here, how many people are wearing masks. You didn't know that for the past couple of months, the whole global economy was in shortage of these kind of medical masks. The market changes just like that, with new information, with new trends, with new happenings. Things change constantly, and the market always justifies something that we want to talk about, okay? Next person, why are you here? Yes?
So, I work in green building construction.
Which one building?
Green building construction.
Okay.
It's a new field. So that's why the marketing things is you have to how to bring the client not only to your business, but also understanding why they need your service.
Exactly. That's very beautiful. I used to work in green building business as well, construction. And the most difficult part is actually educating the client. The client does not know they need your product until you convince them that they need the product. Yeah, so you've got to always try to find a way, especially with new fields like that. Marketing doesn't mean advertising or having a big poster on the street or, having a nice website with a nice TVC on. It actually means education in your sense. That's beautiful. Okay, anyone else? Okay, yeah? Why are you here? Welcome. Okay, about?
About marketing, about how to bring product and service to the society widely. Because I'm a sophomore, I don't know the first thing about marketing, but I'm curious about how good idea can spread.
Okay.
I want to bring good ideas.
That's also amazing, also one of the topics that we will be discussing, because marketing is usually mistaken as advertising. People think about how do they spend money to get more clients without understanding that the key point about marketing is bringing the product or services to the market. So coming back here, we'll talk about marketing. Before we talk about the fundamentals of marketing, we'll have to talk about what exactly is the study of marketing and why is it so confusing and so different in the university lecture hall to the reality. So it's quite simple. Marketing is the verb of market. So as much as like you learn economics, is that you are trying to learn how the economy is behaving, predicting its behavior, action, change. Then marketing is studying the markets. And studying the market is so many things combined. We have to study psychology, we have to study economics, we have to study finance, we have to study technical issues, we have to study politics. And so in marketing, you will have to touch politics, technology, computer science, trends, statistics, mathematics, psychology, even biology, consumerism. You will have to learn different topics about how markets work. And because the definition of the market is so simple, which means, just two people selling stuff, that is the market. And so when we have millions of people, billions of people selling stuff, then the math problem that we are trying to learn and solve and decode becomes very, very complicated. So that's why we have this session, which is coming back to the idea of learning the market from the mental aspect, the fundamental aspect. So for example, this is my favorite example. Before we talk about marketing, we have to understand what a market is. A market is basically when people start selling stuff. So in the past, think about, 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Did we have a market? Kind of. 4,000 years ago? Kind of. Maybe 1,000,000 years ago? Maybe they were starting. No, they were starting. Marketing is actually a very, very long study. And like people say, the oldest trade, the oldest market is between a man and a woman. When you're trying to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you try to present yourself in the best way. That's product design. When you're texting her or Facebooking her for the first time, that's advertising. When you're calling her, that's telesales, telemarketing. When you're adding her on Facebook, that's digital marketing. When you are taking her out for a nice dinner, that's experimental marketing. So many things that we do every day to try to market the first product, the fundamental product, the basic product, which is us, to our romantic partner. So it has been there forever. Humans have been doing it all the time. We're always trying to sell something. I'm trying to sell you an idea. Think about it, learn from it. You're trying to sell me your time, your questions, your ideas, your thoughts, your feedback. And somebody else is trying to sell you mask. You see that on Facebook these days. Only mask and hand detergents are the hottest product. But the fundamental market started a long time ago. People didn't have a lot of needs. They just needed to eat and sleep and survive. So a farmer might be raising a lot of chicken. So he's not a marketer. He's just making a lot of chicken, trying to raise chicken. One day, he became very good at providing the chicken. So he has too many chickens. So he thought about, maybe I will need a lot of more vegetable in my diet for constipation. So he decided to trade the chicken with a neighbor. That's when our first market happens, when people start trading. So he has to sell the chicken. He has to determine how much one chicken is worth in terms of vegetable. And the guy next to him, he's, growing vegetables, rice, and he's trying to exchange. So in the beginning, you have pricing, product valuation, also a term in marketing. What happens after that? He makes so much, he successfully raised so many chicken that his neighbor is sick of eating chicken, and he's sick of eating chicken. And then the neighbor next to him realized that I don't need to only grow vegetables or rice. I can make chicken too. He seems like he has both of the worlds. So what he does is he also starts raising chicken. And that's the theory of competition marketing. What happens after that? These two people were, competing on chicken, but both are sick of eating chicken. So these two guys, what they did is one guy started to think, maybe I should sell this chicken in the village next to me. And he's trying to find someone to sell his chicken. That is penetrating new market. When it came to that place, the people there are only rice eaters. They've never seen a chicken in their life. What he has to do is he has to introduce people what a chicken is. Market education, also in marketing. After that, some people started consuming his chicken, and now this guy has not only chicken, vegetables, he could trade rice, he could trade, beef or anything else. What happens after that? His competitor, the neighbor, started to do the same thing. But this time, the neighbor decided that in order to bring more chicken to the market, he will take a cart, something you drag with you to put more chicken on it. So that is economy of scale, an economic and marketing term. After they did that, they start competing more. So this guy realized that, well, I don't need to sell the whole chicken because most people wouldn't know what to do with the chicken. I will grill it to make it smell very nice, and I will bring it to the next village, and they will smell the chicken, and they really want to use it. And that's product differentiation, product re-engineering, also in marketing. And did you know that that story is still used nowadays? Have you been to Big C? Big C is very famous for the chicken, correct? The grilled chicken, the smell, and the baguette, the bread. The grocery stores, it has been a story. When I was like 5 years old, we lived in Europe. And my family would always go to Bronto. It was like a Big C, kind of like a supermarket, for the only reason that they have the best chicken in town. That was 20 plus 30 years ago. Now, Big C is still doing that. And then, in the US, Aldi, Whole Foods, and another food chain, Costco, were competing not on who has more money, not on who has more products, not on who is developing faster, but who can make the chicken cheaper. Because even up until this day, these concepts are still evergreen. The chicken in a grocery store is still their main selling point. And that's how marketing could have lasted thousands of years with the same fundamental concept. At least in the chicken story, you can see that now they have changed from a normal seller. We have distribution networks. From opening a market next to the village, we are importing chicken from the US. Did you know that the chicken meat from the US is about 30% cheaper than the chicken we grow here in Vietnam? And that's also the reason why they sell, you don't see American chicken breast in Vietnamese supermarket. You see quarter legs, drumsticks, or the leg part. The reason is consumption, psychology, behavior. The people in the West are a little bit more health conscious because they have had problems and issues with weight, diabetes, and other over-nutrition kind of an issue. And because of that, they prefer the kind of protein that is leaner, healthier, less saturated fat, less cholesterol, which is white meat, the chicken breast. I grew up in a Vietnamese family. We don't like the white meat because in our Asian beliefs, the darker meat, that has more protein, more nutrition, is more valuable. So what happens is the chicken industry in the US, because they could do massive scale, more chicken makes it cheaper per product. And they consume the chicken breast, only a small part of a chicken. And then in Vietnamese market, we import the stuff that they don't find it so attractive. But maybe we'll evaluate it at a higher price. That's why people like KFC so much here in Vietnam. So the behavior, the beliefs, the family tradition, our cultural background, our cuisine, and all of those things, it changes from one market to another market, from one village to another village. And the study of marketing is basically, we study every single thing about the market. And we are all here because we are some product of the marketing world. Everything you wear on yourself right here is a product of a choice that you made. But mostly, it's a choice that somebody made for you. For example, we have had, I would say 50% of people in this room are wearing glasses, right? Did you know that even though you think that you are making a different fashion statement, you are buying these expensive glasses, maybe some expensive Cartier glasses, or Ray-Ban glasses, and some of you here are wearing, cheaper, less expensive Chinese brands. But the truth is, you don't have a choice because the glass economy in the world is dominated by, if I'm not mistaken, 3 companies in the world. They produce all the glasses in the world. They fake the different brands, so they just name different brands. The same production cost per glasses, expensive one, cheaper one, has the same cost of production. But they are selling you at different prices because they know that you want an illusion of choice. You want to feel like you have the glass that fits your face, that has the right brand for your positioning. You cannot wear cheap glasses. You have to wear those expensive $200 glasses. Well, to be honest, they're the same exact product, the same exact owner company. But they do that in order to satisfy 40% of people in this room. Because each of you here bought it for a different reason. The products that you wear, the clothes that you wear. You know what's interesting in this room? You see about a lot of people wearing yellow. Last year, the Chinese market was booming with a fashion that uses the color yellow. So you've got these people wearing those kind of things. You're wearing this medical mask because of a trend that's happening of all the PR, all the articles, all the things happening on the news, talking about the risk. To be honest, believe me, I'm super scared of dying. However, I've seen Vietnamese people, driving on the street every day. That's fast and furious. That's pretty scary. You've seen people seeing, a fire and then they would jump in just to, live stream it. And yet, our whole nation became extremely afraid of the trend happening, the disease happening, the flu happening. Which is not wrong, but it's kind of funny how our brain reacts differently to different kind of dangers. Marketers use that. Sellers use that. Wholesalers use that. Product developers use that. They need to study how you behave, why you chose that kind of specific socks, why are you sitting here today, what kind of habit, lifestyle, what's your weight, gender, income. To study you, they will determine the yellow color in the fashion, the shape of the glasses and the material you're wearing. And every iPhone, look at that, to be honest, every iPhone is not much different from the old one. So what makes the iPhone so evergreen? Is it really the camera? Is it really the function, the speed, the tech behind it? Or is it because we have become so addicted to the idea of owning an iPhone? I'm a victim, I have 3 iPhones, 2 iPads, 3 MacBooks. I'm an addict, that's why I understand the irrational, impulsive intention of owning an Apple product. And I think their most successful thing about Apple is that they understand marketing more than any other company in the world. Another example, the Apple Store. When the market was changing, Apple's really interesting in that sense. The market was changing. In marketing, if you're working in a company that works in retail, people say that one of the most important ratio, most important number you want to calculate and monitor is the revenue per square meter. Because the cost of your company's operation every month, the biggest cost is usually real estate. Paying your employees will cost about 30-40% depending on, if you're in a service industry, for example. If you are a different industry that has, heavily equipped with robots, for example, then maybe your payroll is only about 5-10% per your own OPEX, operational expenses. But for restaurants, for stores, for retail, for these kind of places, then the real estate, the rent every month is going to be the most expensive one. And because of that, they want to know what is the correct number of the revenue per square meter. So because of that, what happens? People no longer open stores. We have Lazada, Tiki, and Amazon, and eBay, and even Walmart is switching to the online spectrum. Because it's a much more superior way to sell if you can eliminate the cost of rent. But what happens is, Apple did the opposite. While everybody was trying to minimize their outlets, Apple decided that they actually want to open an offline store, a physical store, even though they work in the tech industry. And another philosophy is, if you have a store, in order to maximize the revenue per square meter, you need to, like our class here, pack as much product as possible. The more chair, the better. More seats, the better. More people, the better. So the products, if you go to a supermarket, you can see that the product aisles are, very tiny. The walkway is very tiny, and you have these kind of huge aisles of products, because they want to maximize the revenue. Apple did the opposite. There is no aisle, no shelving in an Apple store. It almost has no merchandise, no boxes, no product, none of that. They just have this kind of like wooden table, and on the table there's just a small iPhone in the middle of it. Our stores like FPT store and the DigiWorld are trying to copy that idea. However, they're still greedy about the revenue, so you can still see that they put a lot of products in. And that's the opposite of the Apple's philosophy. So the Apple philosophy is, they realize that all of those things are noisy. It kind of irritates the buyer, because the buyer goes everywhere and they are bombarded. They are surrounded by so many products that it creates the sickness of choice. I don't want to choose. You go to a supermarket and see how many types of toothpaste there is. There's one for kissing, close up. There's one for, the charcoal that makes your teeth whiter. Oh, sorry, Siri. There's another one for green tea, for better breath. There's another one for antibacterial. There's another one for all sorts of things. People are sick of choices. I just want I just want clean teeth. I don't need to have all of that. And because of that, the Apple people realize that they want to make the shopping experience in an Apple store kind of like a zen, peaceful, and comfortable one. And they want people to focus on only the product. So the Apple store almost has no merchandising, no shelving, no decoration at all. And funnily, Apple is a company that is ranked #1 in the world for revenue per square meter. That's how amazing it was. So market changes all the time. The trends, the technology, the way we buy, the way we shop, our mentality is changing all the time. And the study of marketing is basically trying to understand that. So now we'll finally go back to the idea. Okay? So we'll talk throughout this. We're trying to understand the marketing in the 21st century. I tried to bring up the chicken guy to stress again, please mark my words, that marketing itself hasn't changed anything, hasn't changed at all in the past years. What has changed is us. We changed the way we shop, we changed the way we dress, we changed what we like, what we don't like. Before, people, the funny thing is this, the relationship with fat is, for example, Vietnamese people, Asian people used to like being fat a lot. If you look at all of the, beauties in the past, from, the queens and all of these concubines, the similarity is that they're all fat. Why? Because when the whole society was suffering and struggling from getting enough to eat, then people who are heavier, who don't look malnutritioned, are the people who show a status of wealth. What happens next? Then we've got, people being able to eat a lot is no longer a status. Now being able to afford a gym membership that makes you skinny makes you special. So now people don't like fat anymore. Also, in the food, my dad still has this crazy idea that fat is bad for you. We grew up learning that. Don't eat that, a lot of cholesterol. You cannot have, the meat that has too much fat, blah, blah. What we learned in the couple of years lately is that the real culprit of diabetes and of, health problems, weight problems, obesity is not fat. Fat is good, fat is nice, some fat. But what is bad is sugar. But because at that time, years ago, the sugar industry was so strong and they were good at lobbying and their products were everywhere. So they needed to blame someone for people getting fat. And they blamed the fat, people getting fat because of fat. It makes sense. But the truth is, it is the sugar that is a culprit behind all of this. And now the world is trying to tax sugar, reduce sugar. What did Coca-Cola do? They invented Coke Zero, the sweetener. But did you know, I look down on people who drink Coke. If you are being unhealthy, at least have the courage to take in the unhealthy Coke. However, the Coca-Cola industry invented the Coke Zero and makes people think that they are much more healthier. But to be honest, the sweetener in Coca-Cola Zero is even worse for your health. The human body doesn't really digest it well, and it's sending the wrong signal to your brain, which actually makes it worse for the body and for the blood sugar level and all of those things. So that is also the bad side of marketing. When you can manipulate people's information source, how they behave and the product, that's how you are going to feel. Dependent. You are going to be a victim to the products. So now, we want to learn the story of marketing. To first is have an ethical way to bring in good product and services to the market. Know how to do that. And secondly, maybe you'll never be able to be completely independent from the market, but at least you can be conscious when it's your choice and when it's a choice that somebody else made for you. Just look around. What's happening in our country for the past couple of months? Look at all of the products that we couldn't export. What does it tell us about our own market? That is the indication that we are not consuming our own products. We have 90 million people. It's impossible that you cannot, buy all of those products and eat it. But why do we have such a big problem? Well, A, maybe because these kind of products, like lobster right now, so cheap. For example, our market doesn't have the income high enough to consume lobster. That's why we need to export them. Now that we cannot export them, we are in big trouble. It also says that even though we have 90 million people in population, and everybody thinks our market is very attractive with a lot of buying power, maybe it's not the truth. We are not consuming high-end product, expensive product, in a big volume. There is a poverty line between the poor people in the countryside, where 90% of our population lives. And if you look at Hanoi with all of these, modern technology around us, everybody's owning an iPhone. You can see, expensive cars cruising around Hanoi. You can definitely, easily be fooled by the status of our market. Also, look at our products that we actually want to buy, like masks. Why is that we cannot buy masks so cheaply anymore? Because even those simple things like that, Vietnam doesn't have an advantage of mass production and fast production. We are still dependent so much on the imported products from China because it's faster, cheaper, easier. So it shows us the things happening right now. It actually shows us a lot about our market, about the future wealth of our people and our economy. And that is why we want to learn what is the fundamental of these markets and how we should think about them. So we want to know the market challenges. Finance is one of the big ideas. A lot of people don't think that marketing and finance come together, but to be honest, the only reason why you're doing marketing is so that you can regain the revenue you spend on it. So finance is going to be one of the most important aspects of marketing. So we want to innovate new products. We want to build new demands. We want to contribution to the bottom line. Blah, blah. Oh, if you find something interesting, you can take a picture, but I'm warning you, I have about 500 slides, so you'll be taking pictures a lot. So pay attention to the ones that you really like, the content you really like, okay? So, in all, marketing is about identifying and meeting human and social needs. And that brings us back to the current coronavirus. When people are in need, do they care about the price? Do they care about how difficult it is to achieve a product? The real products nowadays are focusing on the fact that you want that product. I want an iPhone. I want a better apartment. I want that product. But the fundamental thing, and a good product should do, is make people need that product because it makes it much, much easier. Have you realized why hospitals never did marketing? Now they do, but before, hospitals never did marketing because they know that when you're in trouble, you will be begging to come in. They don't need to do marketing for you, which is kind of sad actually. Because of that reason, the hospitals that we have don't really focus on preventive services. They only focus on when the symptoms have gone bad. And that means that we're not getting the good health care that we want. So now you see so many more private hospitals are opening. And their services doesn't really involve treating like difficult diseases or doing difficult surgery. They focus on what? Beauty, cancer screening, and these kind of things that are more preventive. But who are their main clients? Rich people. The reason is it's very expensive to introduce a new product, and usually selling to a small group of elite people is easier than trying to convince people from other places to jump up the ladder and join their market pool. So, eBay recognized that people were unable to locate some of the items they desired the most. This is actually very interesting wording because the stuff on eBay is not really the good, expensive stuff. eBay is really good at, A, selling used books. In the US, if you go to university or even high school, you would understand the horror of buying textbooks. I still remember that every month I had to spend like $500 to $1,000 on books for school. Unlike in Vietnam, you are given the textbooks. There's not really a definition of a textbook. The professor can choose for their class which books the students should buy. And then they also give extra books in case you want to read more. And because of that, your bills for the books will be very expensive. So when I was growing up, that was when eBay was getting popular, not so more nowadays, but used books is something very popular on eBay. Nowadays, eBay is still good at used products, but most importantly, collectibles. Because a lot of people like to collect things, action figures, kind of old teddy bears, toys, and all of these things that people collect, stamps. So I love the idea that eBay understands that somebody's trash could be somebody else's treasure, and people are willing to trade. Think about the chicken guy. So this is when a brand, a market, or a product can meet the social and individual needs of people. That is what we are looking at. So the American Marketing Association offers the following definition. Marketing is the activity, sets of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offering that have value for customer, client, partner, and society, blah, blah. It sounds very complicated, but it's very simple. The first thing is you don't see the word advertising anywhere on that. Marketing is purely about exchanging and delivering. So thank you, Mr. Sophomore, you talked about that. It's all about delivering and exchanging. When people start to be envious of somebody else's possession, want something else from you, that's when you have marketing. And it's an activity and sets a process, so basically just gibberish. Anything that serves that purpose of exchanging, offering, and value is marketing. And that's why it's confusing, because people use way too many weapons to sell something. So, blah, blah, blah. When people say, I work in marketing, or I'm a CMO, or I'm a business owner, what they mean is actually what they do is, the job description is, they have to think of strategy. Simplistically speaking, think about, you like a girl, you try to find a way to make her your girlfriend. Some people will show their persistence every day, every day, every day. That's a strategy. That's like the insurance people always calling you. Do you have the demand for buying new insurance, blah, blah, blah. Or English centers, they do that. Do you want to learn English? We have this class for 3 months, and then you'll be speaking like a native speaker, blah, blah. I've heard it so much. So think about the strategy. Are you going to be persistent? Are you going to sell an expensive product or a cheaper product? Are you going to price them on subscription base, give it for free, or what? Those are the go-to-market strategy. The second thing is capturing insight. That is where the beauty happens. We have to look at sometimes, math, statistics. Did you know that the Vietnamese people, okay, I want to ask the ladies here. Ladies, do you think that when you're a Vietnamese woman, do you think that Vietnamese women are more oppressed than men? No? You think we have gender equality? Who thinks we have gender equality? Raise your hand. No one. So that means that you think we have inequality, right? The interesting thing about that is, after a survey, a different kind of surveys, a lot of researchers, they realized, I'm not saying that we don't have equality. I thought so too. I think I'm a victim. I think I could have done much better if I was a man. But anyways, the research says that if you compare the women in Southeast Asia, for example, then the Vietnamese women are actually we have the most women entrepreneur, and we have the most women politicians in the region. So like, oh, okay. Secondly, they also research our women, and they also say that our spending habits, that the Vietnamese woman is willing to spend on herself much more than any other women. So we have to lose our branding like, oh, we sacrifice so much for our family and children and husband. We are actually the biggest spenders in the region on ourselves, beautifying and spa and luxury items. So that is the difference between country and country. We need to know the insights. And because of that, as you can see, our spa, nails, and hair salons and beauty business in Vietnam is really booming. You see them everywhere. What do the men get? Karaoke and bia hơi and something? So we also, statistically speaking, Vietnamese consume the most volume of beer in the world, and definitely in the region. So these kind of insights, you need to understand why. So with that insight, the beer insight, right? A lot of because we come from the Czech Republic, my family. And Czech Republic, Germany, they have a very famous beer brewery, blah, blah. But, so people thought that if I open a beer restaurant in Hanoi, it'll be amazing. Wrong, 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 and wrong. First, Vietnamese people don't like the beer itself. They like the experience. The guys, after a soccer game, they just want to have a reason to stay away from their wives, basically. And so they want to have fun. They want to enjoy each other. And, you have what? Options, karaoke or that. So I think beer is still better. So people want to spend some time drinking something refreshing. And because the weather in Vietnam is so hot, it actually is not a good idea to drink ale, lager, the kind of dark beer is not good for this weather. You can easily get sick from that weather because the humidity, the way our body is sweating and blah, blah, it's not really good. So the cheap 7,000 dong per glass is a perfect model. And people want to go to those places sweaty and, they can talk loudly and they can have some good food to eat. So today actually, 15 years ago, Facebook reminded me that 15 years ago, I posted on Facebook that one day, when I grow up, if I get married, I will definitely get married at Bia Hoi's place. And I was just really thought, what were you thinking, Nikki? But that was the first time I experienced the food in the Bia Hoi's place. It's very good. Comparatively, it's much better than other kind of places. If you want to have, cheap, nice Vietnamese food, Bia Hoi is the place to go. So that is a beautiful formulation of a service. And because of that, if you bring American beer companies in, if you bring Czech companies, German company beers in, restaurants in, that have fancy layout, expensive beer, and a nice quiet environment, they will definitely go bankrupted in Vietnam. So we need to understand, in order to formulate a business model, a product you want to sell, you need to understand the weather, climate, cultural issues, things like that. So because of that, we need to capture market insights. So if you have a psychology major, or even if you just like watching people, that is going to be very good for you in capturing insights. Then, of course, you need to connect to the customers. And now with social media, with Facebook, with TikTok, with so many things happening, brands are trying more than ever to connect with the people. So, and the problem is, connection is very awkward. Because our brands, before, if you want to use utility, you have to use a state-owned company utility. Now we still do. But before, you cannot yell at them. You don't meet them. You don't know who that is. You just know that it's a big company that gives you electricity. But now, you can go on Facebook and give them 1 star. And so brands are struggling because they have never had to invent the job description of a social media manager. They never had to hire someone to explain to the clients the products, products, complaints, reporting issues, and things like that. So even in our country, we are struggling to find a way to connect with customers on a human level. Then you want to build strong brands. So this is where we talk about branding, not advertising, branding. We'll talk about that later in the course, maybe in the session 5 or something. So I'll go into detail later. But we think that we need something, but to be honest, we are motivated by our desire to have that more than our need. And what's desirable? Well, for each of you, you desire different things. So glasses have to be different. Socks have to be representing different people, different things. And because of that, brands happen. Everybody has a brand. I love the jokes on Facebook or the memes or on TikTok who they say that in every group of people you have someone. It's a big stereotyping and generalization. People are different, but to be honest, we like stereotypes because stereotypes, it gives us kind of predictability, you know? When I was working in the construction, I had a really difficult time working in construction because the stereotype for people in construction is, the first thing is you have to be a man. You have to be loud. You have to drink beer like crazy. That's why I know so much about beer. I spend most of my time trying to drink it. And the thing is, it's not about sexism. I'm not saying it's sexism. What I'm trying to explain from, coming to term with it, is that I think that people feel that that kind of industry, first, a male person has a better health condition and physicality to endure the difficult situations, in construction, working long hours, going to different provinces, and people like that kind of people more than somebody who looks like me. Secondly, the age. People expect the people they work with to be older, because older also comes with more responsibility. Actually, I was going to say more experience, but see, you guys are stereotyping. There are a lot of irresponsible old people, okay? But we formed, that's beautiful, we formed that kind of thinking, that the more mature you are, the more reliable you are going to be. So brands are like that. When you are buying from a company, you want to know what kind of reliability you're buying, right? So let's compare, okay? We've got internet. I remember that. When I first came back to Vietnam, when I was younger, I was in a very difficult situation because internet sucked. Horrible internet. Now it's not much better, but it's much better than that time. And you have to decide between VNPT, FPT, and Viettel. Okay, who here uses VNPT? Raise your hand. Ooh, 10%. FPT? 30%. Viettel? More. So it's kind of like a VNPT sucks and Viettel and FPT are on the same level. So you can see that is competition. But 10 years ago, it's not like that. 10 years ago, I'm quite sure that all of you will raise your hand for VNPT and Viettel. VNPT and FPT. Viettel was starting off with, DCOM, 3G, and blah, blah, before they go into the ADSL market. So who has VNPT? Okay, why? Your mom picked it. No, it makes sense. Because VNPT is a state-owned company. So some people, maybe older people, stereotyping here, feel like they are more reliable, right? So, okay, VNPT. Who here has FPT? Why? Yes. No, that's amazing. Yes. I also used to work in telecommunication. And because the companies, I hate that. Because the companies don't want to get better products, what they do is that they go into high-rise buildings and they invest in the infrastructure. And because they invest in that, they don't give you a choice. You have to use it. That's also good marketing, but it sucks to be us. Okay. Who here uses Viettel? Why? Cheap, right? Amazing. So people online, please tell me, what do you use? FPT, VNPT, or Viettel? People online? Hello. So, anyways, the reason, it's very interesting. That is actually the story of how these companies were competing. To be honest, in the beginning, we didn't know much about telecommunications and the technicalities. But VNPT was very successful in the beginning because they're a state-owned company. They inherited, It's like in Vietnamese, we say that our father is really VIP. So VNPT is like that. They inherited the brand of a state-owned company, which means that if something goes wrong, you don't think they're going to go bankrupted. So when you sign a 2-year, even 10-year contract, you are not afraid that one day they will disappear. You also feel more trustworthy. that they are a trustworthy supplier. But again, we all know that their internet sucks. Then, what happens is Viettel. Viettel, in every marketing class, I'm in love with the Viettel strategy. No, it's truly beautiful because when VNPT owns mobile phone, Vinaphone, and all the other brands, telecommunication, they have, the big VIP dad, so they didn't have a lot of motivation to innovate. But Viettel, they jump into this market without much, they have, but compared to VNPT, they don't have that much advantages. But instead of focusing on the market, their village, which is Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, rich people, they focus on the 90% of the people living in rural areas. And that's super smart. If you have been fishing in your village for so long and the fish are already gone, then you need to have a strategy to penetrate a new market. And the fact that they know how difficult it is to go into the rural areas. Because A, people don't have high spending power. So you need to constantly get new clients every day or else you will die. But they did it anyways. Secondly, you need to introduce the product, educate the market. It takes a lot of money to do that. They did it anyways. And the beautiful thing is they started not with a cell phone service, not with telecommunication, but with a DCOM 3G. It's so beautiful, even though it sucks. The internet, I don't know how people could have done it using that kind of internet. But first, in product development, it helps them not to have to hire people to do all the wiring and cabling, less expensive. And the people in the rural areas, they've never seen ADSL. So they can use that really slow internet and wait for it to load, and they wouldn't complain. Because that's better than having no internet. And the price was cheap. And who did they sell it the first to? A group of people who we always don't care about, which is a lot of you here, university students. People think that university students are not good customers because they don't have a lot of spending power. But remember, how many people, young people here, have to install apps on your parents' phone? Anyone? Who has to reboot the internet even though it's only pressing one button? Exactly. The positioning, the special positioning of young people, even though they don't have a lot of buying power, is that they lead the technology innovation in the household. Everything wrong happens, your parents are going to call you. When the fan's broken, my dad's like, Nikki, come fix the fan. I'm like, I'm not an engineer. But they still think that I can fix anything that has, digital numbers on it. So Viettel was very smart in that. They took in the people who are easy to educate because you university students are moving from the different provinces to big cities. You know what it means to have good internet. You have seen all these new products. You know the trend. And you understand technology better than your parents. So if they can successfully sell you that tomato package, when you start using internet, DCOM, you will buy from Viettel. When you start putting in, your cabling for the first time, you call Viettel. When your parents want to have their cell phones bought for the first time, you will call Viettel. And that is how these different companies are competing in this landscape now. So Viettel has built its brand based on its action. It has built its brand to be massive, middle-class friendly, young people friendly, cheap, reliable, big. And not intimidating, that's the most important thing. They're nice to you. But Vinaphone, what happens? I still remember at that time, I was kind of a horrible person, but I get a lot of phone calls every day. So if the phone call starts from a number with 11 numbers, right? I would not pick it up automatically. Because I would think that it's a telesale person or something like that. I don't pick up numbers that is 0, 1, something, something. So when they changed the numbers, it was kind of interesting because now you don't know which one to pick up or not. But back then, the 9 numbers were more valued, more expensive than the 11 numbers. Why? Because of the brand. The 11 numbers were invented later on. Who here owns a 091 something number? See? All the old people in the group. Ouch, sorry. I'm including myself. So 091 something used to be a status. that you were wealthy enough that when the whole country had no mobile phones and still had to use those, normal phones that millennials now probably don't know how it looks like, we had mobile phones at the time. So that is the brand. If you have a Vina phone or mobile phone status, it means that you're rich, or family is rich, your parents are rich. So those are the things that creates a brand. A brand is not created by the stories you tell alone. It's not created by your advertising or your logo. A real brand, it exudes the vibe, the smell, the look, the feeling, based on its actions and decisions, not on the logo or how it looks like. So, when we talk about branding, it's very difficult because of that. A lot of people come and say, Nikki, I want to build this kind of brand. And I just look at them like, ooh, you don't look like that kind of brand. Imagine someone who you think that, who's like, I don't want to be offensive, but if you are short as me, you probably shouldn't dream on going on Miss Universe, Just because it doesn't fit the brand. It doesn't mean that you're ugly, it just means that it doesn't fit you. So a lot of brands, everybody wants to be green nowadays. Everybody wants to say, I want to act young. One time I went to a company who sells insurance. And they said, Nikki, I really want to build a brand that we are young. And I look at the meeting room and I said, you are all uncles. I don't know what to do to make you look young. And they're like, no, we want our company to be young. And I said it doesn't make sense because the decision makers are in their 40s and 50s. Your employees all have gray hair. And that's not wrong. You're an insurance company and you sell insurance. Old people buy insurance. Young people don't think of dying. So that is the idea that when a brand really, you want to create a brand, it has to be suitable for the market you want to sell to. It has to be relevant to who you are. And it has to be easy for you to execute every single day through everything you do. Pricing, customer service, product development, logo, advertising, storytelling, all of it say who you are. And it has to be authentic because people can smell a fake. So that's building strong brands. Then shaping the market offerings. We talked about Viettel already, so that is shaping the offering. Sometimes I have this problem working with international companies or Westerners working in Vietnam. They're always, it's kind of silly, and I'm tired of explaining to them. They always say, oh, we have this amazing product and your thing sucks. Well, of course we know it sucks. But I always ask them to downgrade the product. The reason is, it doesn't matter how good your product is. If it's not relevant to the budget, economic, branding, thinking, all of that, people are not going to buy it. I've had a lot of issues with my friends opening up restaurants that sell at a really cheap price. But nobody would come in because they'd spend too much money on the decor. You know that feeling, boys, when you take a girl out on a date, you look at the pictures. If it looks cheap, you take her in. If it looks expensive, you probably don't. So that is also the market offering in a restaurant business. Think about that. Does your decor says, I'm expensive, stay away? Or does it say, I'm kind of cheap, come in, I'll give you a discount? When you're selling, education is the same thing. People want to go and see a place where everybody looks kind of reliable, trustworthy, right? But if, you are trying to take your children to a math class and the teacher came out with, piercing and face tattoo, it doesn't mean that he's not good at math, but you are going to find it a little bit skeptical. So that is what we talk about when we talk about the offering, the price, the packaging. Another example that I say a lot, in Southeast Asia, especially in Vietnam, we have something that people even did research, economic research on, which is the shampoo package, sachet, the shampoo sachet. It's actually very shameful, but people say that only the poor countries in the world have that. And it actually contributes to our poverty. Because our people are so poor, we cannot even buy a whole bottle of shampoo. Yesterday I got a present, shampoo, thank you. And when I look at that, it's a half a liter, 50 milliliter of shampoo. It's much cheaper, even though it's high-end, than buying sachet by sachet. Think about it. If you calculate 500 millimeter worth of those small sachets, it will cost 5 times, 10 times more expensive than you are buying a bottle. But why? Because our people are not wealthy enough that we would want to make a big investment in shampoo. So we would rather buy day by day. Of course, the great thing is nowadays you don't see that anymore. But when I was growing up, that was the default shampoo option in a sachet. And it says that the more you do it, the more it would make the people poor. Rich people are rich not only because they can make more money, but they save more money. They can buy a lot of toilet paper, they can buy a lot of shampoo, they can buy a lot of meat at a cheaper price per unit than poor people. So that is market offering. It shows the economic development of our country. Also, another thing, which is the milk. If you are in the US, you would probably buy the milk at 2 gallon. It's always in 2 gallon. I rarely see, a 1 liter kind of like a box like we have here. Usually 2 gallon. 2 gallon is like 2.5 liters, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like huge like this. Because their consumption is different. In Vietnam, we still consider dairy, milk, kind of like medicine, I think. Right? We think that the children need to drink it to get taller. And it's kind of like that kind of thing. People don't drink milk that much. I drink a lot of milk. And I cook with milk a lot. Cooking. I use a lot of that material for cooking. But I don't see a lot of people use milk for cooking except for baking. Right? So, but in Vietnam, if you go to any store, you never see a 1 gallon milk carton. What you see is a 200 millimeter box. It's definitely more expensive than that, but as you can see, why? Because even though we have 90 million people, a lot of young children, but the people don't plan to consume every day. Or they plan to consume every day, but only a box a day. So you can see our consumption is very small. So if you're a milk company, should you go into Vietnam at this moment? Probably not, because the market is not as big as you think it is. One child only drinks 1 box like that every day. In the family, old people don't drink milk, they drink tea. Have you seen, my company, they used to make fun of a boy who drinks like Milo or milk every day in a box. We say, oh, it's so cute. But there's nothing cute about that, it's food. But we still associate milk with children. And because of that, we are selling and packaging it at this kind of boxes. Cheaper, easy for one child to finish. Don't need to put in the fridge the whole big gallon and not finish it. But in turn, it's much more expensive. So that is the market offering that we are talking about. Then, delivering value. How do we create value to them? We can talk about distribution channel. We can talk about how we innovate our business model. We can talk about all of those things. Next is communicating value. So as you can see, advertising, PR all falls in here. Customer service, which means that it only takes up a very small portion of marketing. Communicating nowadays, people are afraid of ads. We see ads everywhere we go. On the bike, in a Grab car, on our app, on Facebook, auto-scrolling. They follow us everywhere we go. And so now, communicating value is not only about advertising anymore. And the key word here is still value. What is the reason? What is something beneficial for you that I can provide? That is going to be the fundamental all communication of value whatsoever, whatever format, even though it's YouTube or Facebook or whatever. It's kind of the thing that's sad. I think I'm bad-mouthing my country too much today. But it hurts my heart that when I was meeting people who work in makeup, beauty, and online SNS sellers, I asked them, and they all said, about a couple of years ago I did a research, and they all said that, well, the first step to become a super seller in the Vietnam, do a lot of plastic surgery, nose first, chin second, boobs later. The second thing is buy an expensive car and go to a resort every 1-2 months. The third thing is call yourself a boss. The fourth thing is post on Facebook and Instagram every day. It is a reality, the truth. And it's very sad because what does it imply? It implies that the value that these ladies are communicating to the buyer and the reason why they're successful is because the value, it's not their fault, it's our fault. Because the value that the young generation or the women we have in our society, we value that. We want to have, kind of like a makeover in our appearance, rather an artificial appearance, because we like that kind of look. We want to be like that. We want to be financially independent, but we enjoy the pictures they post to go on resorts and, go to the spa and the clinics and all of that. We created that icon, and they were only the one cashing out on it. Because people are more and more obsessed with plastic surgery. And it's very sad for me that, a woman, our definition of a successful woman, a value that we desire is that kind of value. It's not bad. Nobody, good breasts don't hurt anybody. But it shouldn't be the number one priority. And you can see not only 1 or 2 or 3 people. But if you look at your sales channel, just find those people. You will see on your Facebook newsfeed, TikTok, at least 60-70% of online sellers follow that formula. What does it say about our level of education? What does it say about our iconic value? What does it say about what we want, not what they want? So that is something that talks about communicating value. It's kind of sad, but it's a reality. And if you go in a different way, then it's going to be probably more difficult for you to sell compared to them. But again, I know that the market changes all the time, so maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, we'll have a better icon for that. And lastly, we want to create long-term growth. Remember, the guys that sell chicken, they have to move from one household to another one, from one village to another one until they become Big C. So growing the market is going to be your constant job as a whatever, CEO, director. Even if you work in a state-owned organization, you still need to do the same exact thing. One time, I had a friend of mine. He's my friend and colleague. And our company is very famous for this kind of very aggressive meetings. So one day we had this kind of like meeting, and I was doing a presentation on how we should change our corporation, blah, blah, blah. And we had about 50 directors, CEOs in our colleagues group. And so I did a marketing, blah, blah, and nobody cared. They were the behind man, macho, and so they're like, oh, I don't care about marketing. And so one guy, he's my very good friend, but he says, Nikia, I don't think I should be here because what I work in, I don't need any marketing. Now what do? He's a director of an energy company selling electricity to you. He's like, I don't care. I don't have any customers. I don't need to care. And everybody was laughing, and they were laughing at me, and they were like, ha, ha, And so I was so angry and so full of energy. I'm like, you idiot. You have the most customers there is in this market. And he's like, no, I don't sell to end users. I sell to EVN, to these companies. I'm like, you're even more stupid. You're selling renewable energy. Your clients are the government. The government has a choice of investing in solar energy, fossil energy, hydro energy, biomass energy. Why do they need to use your renewable energy form? You're stupid, first thing. You need to educate the market so people can see why they need to make different investment. If you don't get the approval of the government, you will have no products to sell. So your clients are the government, the policymakers, the NGOs, the international organizations, environmental organizations, international cooperations, USSAID, WWF, the American Embassy, the ambassador to Germany is also your client. So you, more than anybody in this room, need to work on your communication strategy. How do you help the government, the people, all the policymakers agree on switching energy levels and investment into different forms? And that is the common things that we see, that a lot of people that you think that you don't have a customer, you do. Even you college students, university students here, you have a customer. Those are your future bosses, your future employers. Even if you work for a non-profit, non-government organization, you will need to work with fundraisers, stakeholders, the government, all of that. So, long-term growth, communicating value, all of these things are something that we will be looking at when we look at marketing. So, now let's talk about this weird thing. So, because I said that it's very complicated, so what do we need to care about? What happens to your people? The first, you need to have a target customer. If you're an artist, you need to know who you're drawing to. If you're a singer, you need to know what kind of music or musical literacy the people have. You know, Sun Tung is an amazing artist. Now in our office, our children play it all the time. So he's amazing. He has the biggest following in Vietnam. He's very fashionable with, I'm not talking about fashion sense, but fashionable with social media. He's social savvy. He takes care of his people, of his fans, of his, you can go to every province in Vietnam and ask them who our president or prime minister is, they wouldn't know. But you ask him who MTP is, they would know. So he's amazing in that sense. But again, other clients would want, divas like Mi Ling, for example, and some people like Chipu. So everybody has a target customer. So your job is not only to identify who your customer is, but most importantly, identify who your target customer isn't. The worst thing a company could do is invest the money in a marketing effort, advertising effort into the wrong audience. And this is what happens the most. I used to say that, sorry guys, but every time you have dinner in Vietnam, what is the most advertised thing on TV? Hygiene pads, Kotex, Diana. They advertise on TV. That kind of primetime advertisement can sometimes cost, $500,000 US per one session per day, depending on the day. It's super expensive. They have to spend thousands of billions of Vietnamese dong every year on TV advertising. But they had to choose the dinner time. First, it's kind of gross. Secondly, you cannot know who's watching TV at the time. You have half of the population watching TV during dinner is men. Another half of the rest are children and old people. And then you've got a small number of women. But yet, people are still using that traditional marketing the most. But of course, they sell a lot, they have the money to burn, let them burn. But it's kind of silly because their target customer and the money they spend on those things could have been better used in targeting deeper into the real clients. Also, the next thing you know is, for P, you need to understand from your target customer, then you will know the place where's your market. Viettel, countryside. Vinaphone, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh City, Da Nang. Then you will know the product. What is the product? DCOM 3G, ADSL, cell phones, 9-number cell phone numbers or 11-number cell phone numbers. That's the product. The price, how much is the price? What is the good price for them to purchase it, the target customer? And then you will think of how to promote it. Think about promotion. What do you hear? Let me ask you something. Who likes buy one, get one free? Raise your hand. And who likes 50% off? Let's do a typical advertising thing we have to think of. Buy one, get one free or 50% off. So the first thing is, one second. What do you think is better for your company? Buy one, get one or 50% off? What do you think is better for your company, the seller? Who think it's buy one, get one free? Okay, 50% off. Why? Why do you think it's 50% off is better? Okay, how about you? Very honest. No. I mean it's better for the seller, not you're the buyer. Who thinks it's better than to sell at 50% off? Yes?
Sell one and get one more for free for them. So I mean, it's like they can sell for 2 products.
Exactly. So it's not definitive. In some situations, giving a 50% off is better. It all depends on who's the target customer. It all depends on that. If 50% off gives the target customer more excitement, you as a seller can increase the sales, the number of sales. So for example, if they really like 50% off, then maybe 1,000 people will buy from you, so you sell 1,000 product. But if they don't like the buy one, get one free and only 20 people show up, then you are only selling 20%. So you have to think about what the target customer wants. However, in terms of sales, the rule of thumb is you want to push, if you're selling a product, not service, the service is bad. So usually the service people don't like to do buy one, get one free. They like to do 50% off more because they need to still invest in the second for free. But if you're selling bananas go bad very easily. You want to push out the product as much as possible. So the rule of thumb is, if it's a product, buy one, get one free. If it's a service, 50% off. That's roughly to understand that we have different logic on what is more beneficial for the seller, the buyer, the company, and the target customer is more important on what to choose, okay? So now, coming back. So, people who like, here, let's talk about customers, who like buy one, get one free, raise your hand. One, two, three, four, five, okay. 50% off. All right, okay. Can you tell me why? Why do you like 50% off more? It's the same deal. 50% off or buy one, get one free is the same deal. You're still getting the product at half. Yes, why? 1 second, just, yeah?
Yeah, because we have more control of buying. Like,
More control of buying, what do you mean?
especially for high-end products, like iPhone or something, we just want to buy one. So
Okay.
50% off, we feel, what all feeling just we feel we get more control.
All right. So you have more control because you only need one item. So you don't want to be forced to buy, to get 2 items, right? Okay, very good. You raise your hand. Why? Okay, so you like quantity and he likes quality. Kind of. Anybody else? Why? Thank you. Yeah, okay. Sorry? Oh, it directly affects your pocket. Okay. Yeah, it's the same idea. You only need one. Okay. So you are very literal. In your pocket, you have enough money to buy one product, so you want to get half of it so that you can still have some change. But if you want to spend all of that and get 2 products, you feel it's unnecessary, right? Okay, very good. Anybody else? Any other reason why you like certain things? Okay. Yeah, you first. Come on. Yeah?
I think this start from what the thinking of culture, like Jose and
Okay, so you have a technical...
I think the most important thing is what we feel.
Okay.
Have more control.
All right. Okay, more control. Good. Yeah, you? Any other reason why? It gives you no choice. Very good. You talk about choices a lot. Yeah, okay. Okay. You have a choice of not buying. That is the illusion, you know. That is the illusion. You always have the choice to not buy it. But people, when they see that deal, they always think that you are not giving me any choice. That's marketing. Yeah, advertising, yes?
So, why won't it want to have, like, remind me about the situation when you have, like, food, you go to buy a pack of snack,
Mm-hmm.
and then you see another bigger pack of snack, but it comes with a bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and you immediately go to that bigger pack with a bowl.
Yes.
Just because it had a bowl with it.
Okay, we'll talk about that later. It's an amazing, I love that example, and we'll talk about it later in one moment. Yeah? Anyone else? Yeah?
The psychological thought of buying something for half the price is better than buying something for
Louder, louder. The psychological,
the psychological thought of buying something for half the price is better than buying something for the full price and getting more out of it.
okay. All right. Sure. All right. Okay, now, one last example, okay? Let's do a more scenario, more content in there. You get a hotel stay at the Marina Bay Sands, Singapore. Okay, I was there. Retard. I was a retard about that. It was like, how much was it? $600, right? 300 only? No, you gotta get at least a nicer blah blah. So let's say $600. I remember I spent about that much. So if you have $600 to stay at the Marina Bay Sands, you know the best hotel in Singapore where there's a pool, you take a picture. I went to the pool. All the people in the pool were Vietnamese. They were speaking Vietnamese. I'm like, wait, that's not Chinese. Wait, that's not English. And everybody in the pool was Vietnamese. It was really amazing. But anyway, so if you have $600 per night, you get buy one night, get one night free, or 50% off. Which one do you choose? Buy one, get one free. Raise your hand. Okay, 50% off. Why? Okay. That was an experiment. People online, please tell me, what do you want? What do you like? You like both? Ooh. Dun likes both. Ching says you don't need 2 items. That's true. Why not taking both options? The reason is you will have to, if, as an owner of a company, a restaurant or anything, you have to think about those things. And it's interesting that if you are a small business restaurant owner, you can decide on those very quickly and then switch. And you should experiment and try to see different ways why. However, for companies that have stock, it's a financial model thing. I've worked with people selling soap and things like that. And such a simple idea, buy one, get one free, or 50% off. We would have a 1-month meeting because the finance team were like, no, we need this many. We need to push the stock. Our company needs the cash flow. And we need to push the stock as much as possible because the cost for keeping the stock is even more than 50% off. So let's push it out as much as possible and do a, buy one, get one free. But I was on the marketing side. I was like you guys. I was fighting with them. I'm like, you know what? Vietnamese people don't like to get things for free. They like to get it on a discount. So why is that so? Let's talk about that. The first thing, in my opinion, add on ideas. People online, please add ideas why you think so. But basically, I think that first, we are a poor country, again. We were born and raised with the idea that you have to save money. So the idea of buying it for less than spending the same but get more, we want to get the less. That is the psychology of not only Vietnam, but Asian people in general. We try to think about it. It's actually not a stereotype. There's a psychological test that they have seen that Asian people are more risk averse. We want to avoid risk. We have been, Asian people in general, we are old. We have been in this earth for a long time. We usually live in agricultural places, so we have known about the time when you don't have a choice, when there's no food, no rice, no agricultural harvest. And so we are always thinking about a way that we can save instead of splurge. Western people, on the other hand, were researched, the results shows that they are more aggressive about getting more. So because of that, as you can see, all the advertising we see nowadays on fashion stores, they are all % off, 50% off, 70% off, 80% off. The reason is because people will usually like to save more than make more. So if you are doing a marketing campaign, please think about that. In my case, the reason why I would spend money on Marina Bay Sands, I'm still one of those people who would like to have buy one, get one free. Because in my thinking, now we'll talk about the product. The product, excuse me. Oh, intern, can I have some water? Thank you. So the product is never a product. The first rule of business is the product is never the product. A product is an offering. As you can see, we talk in all those slides. We never said the word product. We use the word offering. Because each of us view that thing differently. If you look at an iPhone, for me, it's a phone. It helps me check my email when I'm when I'm in bed. It helps me wake up every day. It's something that I use. But I've known people who are always like, oh, it has to be clean. Oh, my old iPhone's so beautiful. I have to take a picture of it. Yeah, why do you take a picture of something that has a camera? So anyways, people do that a lot. And I don't get that. Because this product means to different people different things. For some people, it means status. For some people, it is an addiction to the notification. For some people, it feels the security. For example, I work with my phone a lot. I travel a lot. So if I lost my phone or I leave my phone somewhere, I will go crazy because I feel like I'm cut off from all communication in the world. I feel like I'm losing clients and somebody's yelling at me because I'm not picking up and things like that. So it means different things to different people. And because it's my tool, so I have a habit that I never buy an iPhone in Vietnam. I don't know why I do that. Oh, yeah, the reason why is because people switch out the things. Oh, that was stupid. I phrased it stupidly. People switch out, Vietnamese people are known to switch out, earphones, plugs, and things like that from the boxes. So the reason I feel like I don't want to buy it in Vietnam is that just the thought of having to deal with that makes me feel like it's too much work. So I'd rather spend more money to ship it from the US to Vietnam so that I don't need to worry about that. So for me, the peace of mind is worth the extra money. But for some people, they see FPT has a deal, pay for 12 months and get 0% interest. For them, owning the iPhone here and now, I cannot wait. And getting it for less because I pay every month is going to be more interesting. So the product is never the product. The product is the brand, how you feel about it, what value it has to do, do you plan to use it for, how much it's going to cost, what is the packaging, what is the joy or the pain that you get from it. That is the product, the offering. So, because of that reason, it depends on the product. I have stayed in expensive hotels before. But the pain, I am a person who hates the pain more than she likes the pleasure. I'm lazy. So if I have to stay in Marina Bay Sands for one night and then move out of it, I would feel stupid. I would feel like I'm spending all $600 just to get a picture out in the swimming pool. And instead, I would rather buy the full night and get 2 nights so that I don't have to, pack my suitcase and check in and check out and do all of that. Because doing the other thing, I'm sorry, no offense, but doing the other thing makes me feel I'm poor. If I have to get 50% off and stay only one night, I would feel like, why am I so poor? Why can't I afford 3 nights in a row? My budget only allows me to stay one night. Why? But getting 2 nights, I'll be like, okay, at least now I can feel like I am paying that money to get the luxury of not packing. So it depends on the type of product and the people who think about that. So now, let's see. How about gym membership? Okay, gym membership. Let's talk about that, because you guys probably go to the gym, and sometimes gym memberships are not, sometimes they're very expensive, but a lot of places are not expensive at all. So let's say, who here likes buy 6 months, get 6 months? Okay, who here likes 50% off? Oh my God, you guys. Fine, okay, I surrender. So, it's beautiful because in just 1 hour we have demonstrated that if you represent, and actually I think that you represent even a better demographic in our market. You look more wealthy, you look more well-educated, you look like you are the type of people who go to American Center, so probably your income and your literacy is a little bit higher than the common average people. But you still like 50% off, which means that in general, I will give you my explanation on that. Because in Vietnam, we have just been exposed to consumerism. We just had Zara 2 years ago, 1 year ago, when they came to Vincom. We had Shopee 3 years ago, I think. We are starting, we are newbies. We are the virgins of shopping. If the other countries have had that experience for 20, 30, even 100 years, Sears in the US, the people who invented retail, they've been around for almost, I think they were around for over 100 years, I think. But for us, we are the virgins of shopping and consumerism. So what happens is, we want to be able to get a lot of diversity, variety. I don't want to spend all of my budget on that one shirt, even though it's buy one, get one free. I want to get it half off so that I can have the budget to buy the second shirt to my choice, as you said. People want to try and switch. And also that's something that I have been saying to brands coming to Vietnam. There is absolutely no loyalty, no brand loyalty. Not because Vietnamese people are bad people, but they have just never experienced enough. Don't blame your girlfriend she wants to break up with you because she's not loyal. You're her first boyfriend, let her experience. So next time, guys, get dumped, understand why. They need to experiment more. So in our case, the products that come to Vietnam are usually the products that are easily to switch, no brand loyalty. But you know what? You guys are horrible people. Because you choose that kind of product and you have no loyalty, what happens is that in order to give you that 50% off, what do you think is the cost of that product in the begin with? Very low. I was working and interviewing people in the pharmaceutical companies for the past 6 months. And I keep asking them, why don't we have good medicine? People need medicine, medication, and good medication. We don't want to use it, but once we have to use it, we really want the good type. But when I ask the people, why is that our selection of medication, first it's that we don't have a lot of type of medication. I need a special type of medication for the past 15 years I've been taking it. And in the US, I had 20 different options. My doctor tried to, get me on it for 2 weeks. I get to pick, how do you feel? How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel? And I say, it makes me feel fat. And she's like, okay, I'll switch another one. This one doesn't make you fat. And I keep trying, this one makes my skin dry. Okay, I'll switch another brand. Even though it's the same medication, but just produced by different brands. But when I came to Vietnam, I really need that medication. And I told her, I need this prescription, blah, blah. And it has to be very precise, 120 nanograms. And the pharmacist in Vietnam just threw me one brand, a French brand, which is 150 nanograms. And you cannot overprescribe medication like that. I'm like, I cannot, it has to be 120, it has to be this brand because other brands makes my skin dry. And then she's like, that is the only brand we have in the whole country. And I was very shocked, but I still had to take that medication. 5 years later, they don't have that medication anymore. And they threw me another one, this time 200 nanograms, twice my dosage. And this time it's not a French, it's a German company. And I just look at them like, this is another only brand, right? And I said, yeah. So I've been taking the medication since then. It's really bad for the patients. So the story is, these things happen if it's only about Marina Bay Sands or socks. Buy one, get one free, 50% off, it's easy. But when it's medication, healthcare, education, clean food, fresh air, all of these things, if we as users always look for the big margin, the sales, what happens is that you are the people, because they study you, you are in the center of all companies and businesses research. So if they know that what you want is a deep, deep discount, what happens is that they will never import or produce the kind of products that is higher in production cost. I wouldn't say higher quality, but higher in production cost usually means higher in quality. So what we end up with is very small selection, one type of medication, even only one dosage. And at a really high margin like that, the cost for making that kind of medication is too low to provide you with security and safety. So I talked to the pharma industry, and that's what I learned. So if the people can be a little bit, we shouldn't blame our people. Risk aversion is good. Saving money, better. And if you don't have a lot of money in your pocket, like you said, that's good. You need to budget. But what we should work on is increasing our efficiency and income, but also, even if you're rich and you still prefer 50% off, then you are indirectly helping all of these market research people determine that all Vietnamese people like high margin. And then think about it. If they can sell that to you at 50% off, it also means that you have been buying a cheap product for a really expensive price, right? So in order to do that, we need to change as consumers, because this is the dynamic between the seller, the buyer, the government, and the people. The buyer sends signal to the company, I want that kind of things. The company will in turn change their behavior in their offering from product, price, place, promotion in order to satisfy the buyer. And so all we end up with, shortage of masks, things like that, is prominent because we are the people who design the system. Not the companies, not the brands. They are only giving us what we tell them that we want. So that is why we need to learn for people. Those are things that happen to the market. Then what we do a marketing information system, and then we plan it. That is, the marketing information system is where we get all of those signal data. People like 50% off, more than buy one, get one free. That is the information that we push to our seller companies or brands. They then will do a planning system. When they plan a sales, they will think about that. And as you can see, go to Vincom, go to any shopping mall. Everything is 50, 70% off. And Vietnam has a very funny thing. I don't know why. Our government has a law that you are not allowed to give more than 50% off. Did you know that? The law by the Ministry of Commerce is you can only give a maximum of 50% off, and if you do anything more, it's illegal. So anytime you see 70, 80%, illegal. Really, check the law. It's very interesting. So the planners, they have to do these kind of things, and then we will do the organization and implementation. If you decide that you have a sales, you need advertising, you need to bring people in, you need to text your clients, you need to do printing, logo. All of that is just a small part of the implementation, but something that Vietnamese companies don't usually pay attention to is the marketing control system. The marketing control system is when you spend money in marketing, because again, I blame marketers, but the idea is you're a business owner. You don't want to spend money on MTP appearing in your store and not selling anything. I remembered the other day we talked about the live streaming in the market. And you know that if you want to have a Vietnamese influencer, not even a big one, a very mid-class, couple thousands of followers, how much money would you spend for a young person to talk about your brand on her live stream? Give me a number. How much would you spend for 5 minutes? Just give me a number you think is reasonable. $200. $5. What else do I have? $5 once, twice. Sorry? Micro influencer, just about 10, 20,000 followers. Who are you? That doesn't matter. It's a flat rate. It doesn't matter what brand. They talk about you online, on Facebook, on TikTok, live stream. 10 million is down? 3,000 US dollars. 5 minutes for a microblogger. So when I look at that, I was amazed. I'm like, how can it be so overpriced? Now, of course, they have their value and they have influence, and maybe it's definitely worth that much money if they can bring in the revenue of, $500,000. Of course, they deserve it. But it's quite amazing for me that $3,000 is a big number, and we don't know how much we can get from it. So if you're a business owner, you will think of the same thing. So what we should do is have a marketing control system. Let's not talk about if it's expensive or not. But the problem with a lot of business owners is that you do marketing and you do not have data. You don't do back research. You don't do post-mortem analysis of your marketing campaigns. Yeah. So I have another idea. That was about a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, I did a campaign. I was trying to tell my client at the time that we need to switch to video. Let's do videos. And then they said, well, we don't know anything about video and we think it takes too much work. But I told them, you are already spending right now $5,000 every week on Facebook advertising. If you have an in-house team that creates a video, you can still, a lot of people with zero, but you have to pay your employees every month anyways. And this, I didn't believe that, okay? Yeah, sure. What happens is, I did anyways and quit the job. But after I quit it, our zero budget video reached, just one video, reached, to yesterday I checked, 233,000 views on YouTube. It's not bad for one video. No advertising, made by a school student. And that's what happened to the brand. That they stopped the project I did, and they hired an agency who was quoted for them because I said, it's so unprofessional, Nikki. I'm like, okay, sure, it's made by a high school kid. But why did I let an high school kid do that? Because the brand was trying to sell to high school students. They don't want to see old people trying to pretend that they're young. They want to see people speaking their own language, looking like them, and they can admire as a peer. So after that, even though the clip was less professional, but it got 233,000 views. They hired an agency to do 10 or 20 clips. Each clip cost $1,000. At the end, they got 100 views. It's not even there. Later on, their competitors stole that content, create their whole YouTube channel, and now they're dominating, and the brand, the product that they sold, decided to discontinue at their store and bring it to the competitor. So I hate it when people say that, if you're a business owner, don't talk about, I don't like this kind of marketing or that kind of marketing. Do it anyways. It doesn't cost you that much money to do a 50% off one day. It doesn't cost you that much money to do a buy one, get one free one day. Do it at least 3 times. And then monitor, statistic, math, what works better. That's the first thing. The second thing is, even if it doesn't seem to work, try to ask yourself why it didn't work. Video marketing doesn't have to be wrong, but the way that you do it might be wrong. So instead of trying to always try to find a way that I need to capitalize, I need to monetize on all of my campaigns right away, don't try to do that. Don't hire people to do that in the beginning. Test out the waters. Even go on social media, ask your customers, what do you like? 50% off, buy one, get one free. We are willing to do that sales campaign you know? And then people will tell you, your clients will say, oh, I only have this much budget, I really like 50% off. And then you can calculate how many people respond. Then tell your accountant to put it into your Excel sheet and see which one generates more value for you, and then you're done. But instead of just throwing money out of the system and not monitoring and controlling the revenue back and just spend like crazy, that's stupid. But not doing anything because you're afraid you're losing money is not going to get you new clients. And marketing doesn't have to be about advertising, but it's a choice you do. What is the price for that product? What are you willing to buy it for? So that is the story here, is all of these things have to come together. And today we have only talked about the inner circle. The next session, I'll just run through real quick before we leave. Come back in the next session and we'll finish the bigger stuff. How does politics affect marketing? How does technology, psychology, demographics, social cultural movement? What does Me Too have to do? Why is Korean K-pop, K-beauty so popular? What are we looking at when we see, the China virus? How is it going to change how we look at Chinese products or the country itself? How is it going to change our product system? So we'll talk about the changes in this industry, what kind of products, demand states, what is the market, what do we do, blah, blah, blah. So much. Need, want, desire, demand, positioning, offering. We'll talk about brand and value. But for now, please, it's a teaser for today. Hopefully you will get an idea that when we are thinking about selling, making money, it's simple, but it's complicated. It is simple because it's all human. If you step back and start to notice what's happening around you, you don't need to be a specialist, you need to be a marketer. But you can still see what's going to work in a market. And it's amazing to see how people act irrationally. Or rationally, of course. But if you work in business, if you are a buyer, if you breathe in this existence, and if you're not a monk, if you're a Buddhist monk, maybe you're not consuming much, not even actually. But as long as you're breathing and living, you are a product of manipulation from the market, from the brands, from a lot of things. And how you form your perspective and how you affect other perspective, that is going to be determining the kind of products that you have, your consumption, your value, your budget, your income, and even our economy as a whole. So that's the end of my presentation today. If you have any questions, please just go on Facebook. We already have these sessions and the comments. So even if you're here offline and you have some questions, just shoot a comment underneath and I'll try to reply tonight or tomorrow. So this is a 6-session class that is on a corporate level, or you can find this kind of content in universities. So we'll try to do it, theory and interaction. So next time, I hope I'll see all of you here and you online audience as well. But please come with questions, please. Okay? Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you next time.